joining us once again after his superb debut last week and after a superb debut for ESPN in the first weekend of coverage of the XFL. Tom Luginbill, good to see you. Oliver Luck, no less, said that it was beyond his wildest dreams how the first weekend went. So that is decent praise indeed. Is it how you read it, right in the thick of it on the sidelines? Is that how you saw the first weekend of the XFL?
Absolutely. And I think it's what Oliver's referencing there is on two fronts. Number one, the attendance and the turnout and the fan interest in all of the venues across the country. And then secondly, the performance and the quality of play. I mean, it is hard to go from 70 players to 53 players, all a bunch of guys that don't know each other. You go through 4 weeks of training camp, no preseason games, and then bam, it's live television. You're expected to put a quality product on the field. So I think on both of those fronts, you could say that week one was a success. Now, all of a sudden, you set a standard, and each and every week, you're going to be expected to meet and exceed that standard as each and every team gets better and moves along throughout the season.
We were talking about this briefly before we came to you, and I said the thing that was most interesting to me was that the league was in a way selling itself on the rules changes, but not like the first XFL where the rules were designed to have a kind of tougher, meaner kind of show. But this one was...
That was before player safety.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this one's designed to sort of speed the game up, make the scoring a little bit easier, make it a little bit more exciting. And I said, for the generation that grows up watching football on Red Zone, this is the perfect game.
Well, it really is. And when you look at the rules, and they were well received too. And actually, I think we've got to give the broadcast partners a lot of credit for that by giving it a wide look when you first see it. So you kind of get a sense of visually what it looks like. And then we've got to explain the hows and the whys. But really two areas stick out to me, especially with the kickoff return, is you want to create field position, give the offense a chance to get off to a fast start. And then you want to still enhance player safety and then also have an exciting play. If you look at the New York-Tampa opening kickoff, man, that returner for New York found a crease, and next thing you know, he's at midfield, and it happens in the blink of an eye. So you don't have that immediate dangerous collision. You're not in danger of having that. You still have the excitement of the play, all right? And then the field position for the offense, because really what do fans want? They want a fast-paced game. They want offense. They want to see points on the board, or at least teams in scoring position quickly, as opposed to starting on your own 12-yard line and having to go the length of the field.
Right, and the stats bear that out. 35 kickoffs in the XFL over the weekend, 32 of them return. That's a 91% ratio. And for context, the NFL in this season, just gone regular season, only 36% of kickoffs return. So the stats certainly bearing up.
Also, too, guys, interesting on that one rule, and everybody was wondering if it would happen. The little wrinkle in the rules, if the kicker does not actually get the ball between the 20-yard line and the goal line, the ball for the offense comes out to the plus 45. Plus 45. That happened in our game. So next thing you know, and it actually led to 3 points right before halftime.
Right.
That there was no way you would have gotten had the kicker not botched the kickoff. So I'm telling you, there's a lot of things you better do right in that play.
Well, you talk about your game. We were watching that over here, and Mike and I obviously have both done sideline in the NFL, and it's great. You're up close to the action, you're up close to the benches, but the XFL taking it to the next level. You're interviewing coaches and players in the middle of the game. I mean, that's quite a challenge as a broadcaster.
Well, listen, our production truck actually deserves a lot of credit because they were juggling a lot of balls at once. I mean, you've got players mic'd, coaches mic'd. We have free reign and access to go anywhere we want to go on the field. Our mics, especially mine, because I'm a part of the analysis side of the broadcast, Diane is more on the reporting side, my microphone's open all the time. So I can speak at any time, I can jump in at any time. But in order to relay something back to our truck, I have a little button that takes me off air, and I can tell our producer, hey, listen, I've got Pep Hamilton right here on the bench talking to Cardell. You might want to open up his mic. Or I can say, hey, listen, I'm going to go and talk to Jim Zorn and see if I can get the play call for us. And I can let our truck know so that they kind of can follow us around. And I will say this, guys, I had my Apple Watch on, okay? In the middle of the fourth quarter, I was at 14,000 steps. We were everywhere. And it was so fast-paced. I've never been so exhausted in a broadcast in my entire life. We were running, sprinting, because, you want that instant reaction.
Right.
You get the pick six. You don't want to talk to that guy 4 plays later. We've moved on. You want to talk to that guy when he gets to his bench with all the exuberation going on around him. So, yes, it was a lot. We still have tweaks to make. We can be better in a lot of areas, but it was a good start.
Have you ever? It'd be great if I could talk over the announcer.
I'm going to push the button and turn you off.
Have you ever?
Push your button.
Yeah. When's the first time you're going to interview somebody who's got the oxygen mask over his mouth?
Oh, well, listen, fortunately, we don't have any altitude destinations. But I can promise you right now, we even had our first hiccup. My opening hit was Cardell Jones. We wanted it to be very organic. We wanted to just have him be warming up. We didn't want him standing there with his helmet off like your traditional interview. So he's mic'd, right? So we're talking about this pregame when we're prepping this, and I was like, you know what? I can ask him the question, but I don't have to put the mic in his face because he's already mic'd up. And then we didn't turn his mic on live in the open.
Of course,
for like the first portion of the interview. It's like, oh man, how did we blow that one? So that happens.
Yeah.
That's part of the gig. So there's a lot of little tweaks and things to work through. But whether it's an oxygen mask, whether it's a mouthpiece that I haven't listened through, I'm sure something will come up.
My favorite was Jim Zorn, and I guess the old school guys have got to get used to it. I don't know if he was aware or not that everybody around the world could hear him calling the plays, but he was still covering his mouth with the clipbord.
They all
great.
did it.
But they all doing it. Yeah.
I watched it throughout the weekend. It's just, they're sitting there going, all right, we're going to go zoom right, trips left, 31.8, blah, blah, blah. And they it's funny because they do know, but subconsciously it's just ingrained in them to be so protective. Because listen, let's call it what it is. The coaching profession is a paranoia profession. They're not into giving away trade secrets. And in this league, there are no secrets.
I interviewed.
You better get creative, man. You better have 3 or 4 different calls for the same thing because every week it's going to be charted by the opponent.
I interviewed your father any number of times. He wouldn't even tell me what day the game was being played.
It's so true, man. I would say this though. I give the coaches a lot of credit and they knew what was coming. They were all told when they were hired, understand this is on you as coaches to get creative. Don't complain about access. Don't complain about this stuff being out there over the airways. It's going to be, we're telling you up front. So you as coaches get smart and get creative and figure it out. And I think the coaches embrace that, and they're really going to work through that throughout the course of the season.
I know you were a quarterbacks coach, and in one sense, this league will rise or fall on the strength of its quarterbacking. How did you view that in week 1?
I thought it was very clean for the most part. I think so much of that is reflective of how far along you are as an offensive line, because that offensive line unit, when you're in a supplemental league like NFL Europe or the old XFL or this XFL or the old World League, that's the hardest part to put together. It's the hardest group to get to mesh and gel in a short period of time, and that's going to have a direct impact on the quarterback. What I found at the completion of the weekend, after viewing all 4 games, it became abundantly clear to me that 2 things are going to start to emerge. Number 1, if you happen to have an athletic quarterback, you're going to have an advantage. Number 2, these coaches, with most of them having a heavy NFL background, are going to have to start taking the Andy Reid approach and saying, you know what? This can't be about my system. It has to be about what the players can do. And you're going to start to see more zone read and RPOs and designated quarterback runs with these offenses saying, all right, we can't just be West Coast. We can't be multiple pro style. We need to kind of look like a college team. And I think as the weekend unfolds, and Houston's a prime example, that quarterback in Houston is going to cause some problems.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, of all the guys I saw, he was the most impactful, difficult guy to not only defend, but to have to prepare for going forward. Because not only is he an accomplished passer, but at any given moment, man, PJ Walker just takes off and he's gone.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see continued athleticism be a focal point of this at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, he was named Player of the Week, PJ Walker, incidentally, of the 4 touchdowns for him.
For Matt Rule.
Played for Matt Rule. There you go.
Right, played for Matt Rule.
Deep dive on Iron Mike.
Was pretty good.
And also got Pepper Johnson. The boot. Pepper Johnson lasted 48 hours. I mean, now we know the XFL is serious when coordinators are going after one game. What was going on there? I mean, no messing around there from LA.
no messing around. And, it's been my experience, having spent some time in the coaching profession, that usually that's not something that's a knee-jerk reaction. That's usually something maybe from a personality conflict, a difference in philosophy, or the direction maybe the head coach wants to go as opposed to the coordinator. And all of a sudden it all builds up. You have a bad outing on defense and it comes to a head. You got to make a change. I have a hard time believing that you go through all a training camp, prepare for the first game, and then all of a sudden off of one poor performance, you say, all right, you're done. You're out of here. So I think there's probably a lot more that led up to that.
Yeah, I said to Nat 20 just before we started the interview, probably philosophical differences. Like one's a Neoplatonist and the other one's a logical positivist.
But you're right; they're not screwing around.
Yeah, and I think what happened, my guess would be for week one, he said, "Okay, we'll do it your way," and your way didn't work, and so he said, "Okay, we're going to have to go a different way."
Well, they're unbeaten.
I tell you, and I don't know if they had a problem. But they basically told one of their most talented defensive players, hey, there's the door. Don't let the doorknob hit you on the butt on the way out. And so whether they've got a locker room dynamic or a chemistry issue, Winston Moss is at least taking the steps that he feels are necessary to nip it in the bud right now so they can move forward.
Winston Moss described it as difficult, the decision, understatement of the week.
Yeah.
The Roughnecks, after that big win, take on this weekend, week 2, the St. Louis Battlehawks, who also won their open, a very different kind of style, though, 15-9, and a real slugfest against Dallas on the road. And what I'm hearing, Tom, is that the St. Louis are expecting 30,000 for their home opener.
That's what I'm hearing as well, and it wouldn't surprise me to see what we had in DC, to see what Dallas was able to do in that kind of reconfigured baseball stadium. Houston had the whole lower bowl filled up. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. They're starving for football in St. Louis, and they no longer have it. And then what also helps is you get a 1-0 team coming home. You get a team that performed well on the field, is obviously going to run the football. The quarterback, that guy might be, and I don't want to project too far forward, Jordan Tom is probably one of the more less experienced players in the league at quarterback. By the end of the season, might end up being the most dangerous player in the league at quarterback. He can make all the throws. He's a good runner. Kind of saw him get into a groove and settle in a little bit, so his confidence is only going to go up. They're a pretty good football team, and their approach is different. They're going to line up and bloody your nose, man. They're not in 4 and 5 wides all the time. They're going to line up and they're going to run the football.
Yeah, I was surprised when Tomu came out and he didn't actually stick with somebody, at least on the practice squad, because this is the guy who led the SEC in passing when there were some really good quarterbacks in that league.
Sure, he beat out Shea Patterson. I mean, that was one of the main reasons Shea Patterson had to transfer away from Ole Miss and transfer to Michigan. So he's only going to get better. That's the one thing you asked me about the quarterbacks earlier. There's a lot of high upside guys that you look at and you're like, that guy's really physically gifted. He just needs to play. He needs to get in the right place at the right time. I really only saw 2 teams where I said, okay, they're going to have to work around some things. That was Seattle and Tampa. They've got to answer some questions at quarterback. I thought the other teams, and of course Dallas is going to get Landry Jones back hopefully this week because they'll look like an entirely different offense with him. But there's some guys that have got some ability to drive this league forward.
Well, you mentioned Tampa Bay, they had a terrible day. Aaron Murray in particular sacked 5 times. And the Defenders and the Guardians square off on Saturday. The Guardians, after that win, jumped right up to the top of the Vegas odds as favourites to win the whole thing. That's how good their win was. So that's a tasty matchup. Which game are you covering, Tom, this weekend?
I've got that.
Oh, you got that one? Okay.
And I'll say this. It's just good fortune. It's luck. So that venue, Audi Field, the soccer venue, could not have been a better situation. So it holds 19,000. They got around 17.5, and those fans were not kidding around. So you had this great atmosphere on network television on ABC, and then it just so happens we get DC 2 weeks in a row with 2 1-0 teams in that same venue on ABC. And I think that's a real help. The league couldn't have forecasted that because you don't know, but what a great setup. And I was watching actually tape this morning on New York, and I started going through some of the things that transpired during that game. They played great red zone defense. New York only ran 51 plays total, lowest amount of offensive plays in the entire league in week 1, and did not score a point though in the second half offensively. So this thing, after seeing them on tape and on TV, watching DC in person, I think this is going to be one of the most evenly matched games of the weekend.
It's funny when you said about luck, having nothing to do with it. In the XFL, luck either has nothing to do with it or everything to do with it.
Everything to do with it, yeah.
Tom,
you're right. Each and every week.
Cracking work on your first weekend. We're looking forward to watching it this weekend as well and having you back next week. So look forward to that at Tom Luginbill if you want to follow the big man on Twitter. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.